You already know what this is. You already own some version of it. So I'm not going to tell you gold is a good idea. You figured that out before most people did. You weren't being paranoid. You were paying attention. That instinct was correct. The bar hasn't changed. Still scarce. Still globally recognized. Still sitting outside every system that promised to be different from the last one, and somehow wasn't. The question now is different. The second half is a different game. At 35, you are accumulating. A bad year is a speed bump. You have decades to recover. At 52, the math changes. Sequence of returns risk isn't theoretical. It's the difference between a retirement that works and one that doesn't, determined by when the bad years happen relative to when you start drawing down. This isn't fear. It's arithmetic. Your margin for error is smaller than it was 20 years ago. The people who treat that as a fact, not a feeling, build structures that hold. So let's talk about structure. Not why gold. How to make sure gold is actually doing what you think it's doing. There are 3 layers. Layer 1, the fortress, 20%. 20% of your liquid net worth. Highly liquid. Low volatility. Not being put to work. Its job is simple: prevent forced selling. Example: $2 million portfolio. $80,000 annual expenses. A 35% crash hits year 1 of retirement. Portfolio drops to $1.3 million. You still need $80,000. Without liquidity, you sell at the bottom, locking in loss. That's the forced sell that destroys long-term wealth. Most people think volatility ruins them. Liquidity failure during volatility ruins them. Instead, you set aside $300,000, roughly 2 years of expenses. Year 1 crashes? Covered. Year 2 weak? Covered. Year 3 recovers 20%? You're rebuilding from $1.56 million instead of $1.3 million. The fortress doesn't prevent crashes. It prevents forced selling during crashes. That's non-negotiable. Layer 2, the engine, 60%. 60% of your liquid net worth. Assets that generate reliable cash flow, dividend-paying equities. Income-producing real estate. Private businesses. Structured fixed income. The objective is precise. Your baseline living expenses are covered by this layer. Not partially. Not in good years. Covered. Every month. Using the same example, $2 million portfolio. $80,000 expenses. The engine must generate $80,000 annually, 4% yield. Not aggressive. Not conservative. Precise. I knew someone with $3 million who assumed he was fine. Diversified. Owned gold. Intelligent. But he never asked, "What generates my monthly income?" He lived off portfolio drawdown. It worked, until life intervened. Medical costs. Career disruption. Unexpected expenses. He began liquidating assets in the wrong order, at the wrong time. He wasn't irresponsible. He was unstructured. There's a difference between converting an asset and restructuring a life. Converting. I need $100,000, so I'll sell $100,000. Restructuring. My fixed expenses are covered by reliable income before I need it. Without an engine, expenses become liquidation. With an engine, they become adjustments. When your fixed costs are covered by assets, not labor, you negotiate from position, not need. That's agency. Layer 3, optionality, 20%. The remaining 20%. Asymmetric opportunities. Gold. Growth assets. Private ventures. But here's the difference. Most people take risk from fragility. They need the bet to work. When you need it to work, you hold too long. Exit too soon. Accept bad terms. Optionality only works on top of fortress and engine. 2 years of liquidity. Expenses fully covered. Now you can hold for 10 years. Tolerant volatility. Think clearly. This isn't gambling from fear. It's investing from strength. Your gold belongs here, not as panic, but as strategic preservation layered on top of structure. Why forced selling matters more than volatility. Two investors in 2008, both start with $1.5 million. Both need $60,000 annually. Market drops 40%. Investor A has no liquidity buffer. Portfolio falls to $900,000. He sells $60,000 at the bottom. Recovery begins from $840,000. That forced sell compounds the damage permanently. Investor B has 18 months in a fortress. Same crash. Same expenses. He sells nothing. When recovery begins, he rebuilds from the full base. Both experienced volatility. Only one experienced permanent impairment. The difference wasn't stock picking. It was structure. Decision-making power. When markets are calm, everyone looks rational. When markets fall 35%, clarity disappears for most people. The person with a fortress doesn't panic, expenses are covered. The person with an engine doesn't panic, income continues. The person with optionality sees opportunity instead of threat. These layers don't eliminate volatility. They eliminate panic during volatility. And that's the real unit of wealth, decision-making power when conditions are unstable. Gold in context. Gold isn't insurance against collapse. Collapse doesn't help you. Gold is insurance against erosion. It preserves purchasing power across regime changes, outside counterparty risk, outside government liabilities. That's why you own it. But gold sitting alone is a bet. Gold sitting on top of structure is capital preservation integrated into your life. That's adult allocation. Age stage precision. 25 to 35, build the engine. Volatility is tuition. 35 to 45, grow the engine toward full expense coverage. Begin building a 6 to 12 month fortress. 45 to 55, engine covering 70 to 80% of target expenses. Fortress at 12 to 18 months. Optionality 15 to 25%. 55 plus, engine covering 95% plus of expenses. Fortress 18 to 24 months. Optionality 10 to 20%. These shifts aren't philosophy. They're math. The margin for error shrinks with time. Annual maintenance. This isn't set and forget. Once per year, ask, is my fortress calibrated to current living costs? Is my engine hitting its income target? Is my optionality still truly asymmetric? 30 deliberate minutes. That's it. Structure works, if maintained. Bringing it together, the fortress prevents forced selling. The engine funds your life without liquidation. Optionality allows strategic risk from strength. Together, they create something more valuable than net worth, agency. The ability to say no. The ability to wait. The ability to think clearly when volatility hits. Gold preserves. The engine produces. The fortress protects. Optionality grows. You already made the first correct decision. Now make the second one. Structure it. Review it annually. Engineer around volatility. That's the difference between owning gold and being structured with gold. That's the difference between having wealth and having decision-making power. And that's the difference between hoping you'll be fine and knowing you will.